So recently I came across the idea and wanted to know what was the first story I ever told. Obviously, this is difficult. I'm 21, so it's been a few years, y'all. So I was talking with friends and family, and my cousin MJ brought up an idea that we had made together so many years ago. So with that idea in mind and the fact that MJ and I had a hilarious conversation reminiscing on what this story was, I decided to make these videos a 3-part series where MJ and I will not only explore and revisit this story that we made, but have a fun twist where we both decide on the plot and the main ideas of the story, and have me write the beginning of this story as a novel while he continues the screenwrite that we had originally started. And then at the end, we'll compare my novel and his screenwrite to see what story has become of the initial plot that we had decided on. And on Saturday, you get to see the finished product of what we create from this story. I'm super excited for this series, and I hope you are too, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're reminded every time we post for this series. So without further ado, I'm Christine, and this is Editorial Edge. Alright, so we're gonna get started. MJ, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, hello everyone, my name is MJ Harris. I'm a fellow cousin to Editorial Edge's Christine Harris. We're literally the same age, we both go to the same university. Currently, I'm about to be a senior,
Right.
majoring in African American Studies, minoring in Industrial Engineering. I make music on the side. I even made the beat to Christine's
He
instrumental that you hear. And yeah, that's pretty much it. She's right there. We're chilling here.
Okay, so like I told y'all, this story that we created and thought of was made 15 years ago. We were about like 6, 7, and it's just crazy that this has lasted for as long as it did. Basically, the story of how this came to be and why we decided we wanted to do a screenwrite of it was because me, MJ's brother Jerwin, and my brother Peter we're all
weird.
Yeah, basically. Mind you, MJ and I are the oldest sibling, so our younger brothers are obviously younger.
They're just subjected to whatever we tell them to do.
Exactly. So it was just, we're just bored, clearly. So that's how the story of the Waterfall Secrets came to be.
I think we were like 7 when we were doing this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly we had nothing else going for us. We didn't have smartphones. Also,
Yes.
That's probably
That's
why.
the other thing that was just super crazy when I was talking to MJ about this. Yeah, this was before like Google Docs, before any just
I think the iPhone didn't exist. The iPad definitely did not exist.
no.
Yeah.
Probably this is like iPod Nano.
Yeah.
Definitely iPod Nano.
Fun fact: this was supposed to actually be a film project in a sense. Like we meant to write this as a script for us to act in it, and I don't. Who's gonna do? We didn't even have a director.
We didn't have any clue.
No one would fund this. You'll find out later that there were a lot of things that we couldn't even, like the name The Waterfall Secrets, it heavily implies that there's a waterfall in there. No waterfall.
Didn't have a waterfall, y'all.
Not near a waterfall.
So MJ and I did a little bit of the plotting, or just remembering what the story was even about when we first wrote it. And y'all, when I say this is hilarious to me, it is hilarious. Like, Imagine you getting a piece of work or remembering the piece of work that you wrote 15 years ago when you were like 6 or 7. We couldn't even write full sentences at the time, probably.
No.
Like, but anyways, here's the general plot or idea that we remember. I have it on a sticky note because I still can't remember fully. So the Waterfall Secret was a story of 4 orphans that gained supernatural powers one day when touching and playing in a magical waterfall's river that was near their cabin that they grew up with. Don't know why, don't know how this came to be.
Let's sit on the fact that we touched the waterfall. As soon as we touched it,
Magic.
telekinesis. Everybody. Telekinesis. That was my power.
So let's get into our characters. So I was the female protagonist, and MJ was a character who was disabled and needed a cane to walk around.
And I insisted on it.
On a cane because at the time, I think either like my dad or something had like hurt himself, and we had a cane lying around in my house for I don't know what reasons.
Yeah.
And it was like, we need to incorporate that. My brother Peter, what's his name? Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin.
Kevin was a boy who was struggling with his weight. And MJ's brother, Jerwin, was antisocial. So he had social problems. He didn't like being around people. He didn't like being around us. That was the crux of this. And I say that to say this was somehow our way of rationalizing these characters and the plot of this story that we created so far. Our supernatural powers were derived from our personal insecurities at the time. So once we touched the waterfall, we got powers that would basically combat our insecurities. For some reason, my character had the ability to play with fire. I still don't know what my insecurity is also. So somehow I have this ability to play with fire. MJ, because he's a disabled character, he has the power of telekinesis. So his background and the motive of him getting telekinesis is the fact that he doesn't want to walk to things because he's insecure about having to walk to things or like not being able to catch up. So he brings everything to him. That was our rationale when we were 6. Peter, my brother, Kevin, his character, was able to have the ability to shapeshift. Mind you, this is the time when he was obsessed with Ben 10. If y'all know what Ben 10 is, this is the background to his ability to shapeshift as well. Because he was battling with body issues and his body image, he wanted to have the ability to shapeshift because he wanted to change how he looked, basically. And Jerwin, what's his name? Michael, being antisocial, had the ability to become invisible.
For the amplifying his
antisocialness. So that's the general crux of what the Waterfall Secrets was. Mind you, it wasn't just like a whole technological difference from now and then. It was also just representational difference in books and films and TV shows. So after that, I was like, we were like way before our time.
Yeah.
Like we have so many complex and different characters and representations, which I was very surprised at. Like we were orphans, someone was disabled, someone was dealing with body shaming and body insecurities. Someone was dealing with mental illness and like social anxieties.
Oh, Christine, I just realized.
What? Oh yeah, and we aren't right. It's just a lot of like different forms of representation that were involved in this making, which I thought was really cool. And at the we were 6 and 7 at the time. Like we didn't know that these were actual constructs. These were just the things that we were just saying our characters were, because that's
it just felt
just
normal.
who we are. Yeah, exactly.
It felt normal. Like I didn't really have a disability, but I thought it was just like that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's flesh this out a little bit.
I think what makes this time different is that we have the technology.
Yeah, and we actually know how to write.
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, that's actually the real thing.
We actually know how to write.
We know how to write. We know how to actually critically think about how to tell stories. Christine especially, she's writing lots of books. I've seen it firsthand. So
too many.
Yeah.
Mind you, we're just doing the skeleton of what this is, because our project is to bring this to life in a novel and a playwright or a screenplay of what the story's gonna be. I'm really excited to see like what we can come up with from this.
I am actually terrified.
I'm just like, this is crazy that we came up with this. So we were kind of already talking about this last night, but the main question we wanted to decide on was what makes this story interesting, and like why should an audience care about these characters. And something that we came up with was this was kind of a coming to age / coming to terms type of story.
So what we were coming up last night was using the waterfall and the fact that it gives us power as sort of a mirror, in a sense, to reflect our own insecurities. So throughout the story, we're supposed to learn that maybe these powers are not necessarily what we should rely on. It's more that we should understand and manage our own insecurities as opposed to seeking something that we can't really get.
Snaps. And like tying that back to who they are as like a family unit, because they're all orphans, so they only had each other. Yeah, they only had each other to rely on. I think like the other point is that their powers, like them getting their powers, not only attempted to suppress their insecurities, but on the flip side, like enhance their understanding of like not needing to depend on one another. Because if you think about like, okay, you're orphans and like you're living with your siblings and you're like teaching yourselves basically, you would think that they've grown to be like really independent. Like, you know, they had to mature at a like way faster rate because they had to take care of themselves.
No parents.
Right.
Living
So
in a cabin,
exactly.
in a waterfall.
It's like, what did they?
Who had to pay the bills?
What did they eat? Like, how did they? Like, what?
Nothing.
So is it like you and I just know that our parents like deserted us at the age of like 7, and then we just like now grown up? Because the other thing that MJ and I were talking about was that the book is set when we're older, so like we're in probably middle school. Yeah, so we're at least MJ and I are now, you know, like 11, 12 years old. So it's like, you know, some stuff. I think I learned how to cook when I was 11.
Yeah.
10 even.
Rice.
Yeah, so you have like the basic functions of an adult. So I guess like maybe you and I just like knew that our parents like left us and like we're now taking care of our siblings or something.
Is that something that we can independently explore for the project?
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Okay, so the conflict is that they all realize that, I guess the resolved part of the conflict is that they don't. So do they not want their powers, or they feel like they don't need their powers? Because those are
those are two different.
Or the powers start splitting them up.
Yeah.
There could be like a divide amongst us. Like Captain America and Iron Man.
Ooh. What would we be fighting about?
I guess, like, okay, so they're orphans, they grew up together, they're insecure.
Finding their parents.
Yeah, that could be the conflict. Yeah, like one group could be like, oh, we have these powers, like we can use that to like track down our parents now. But on the other hand, like the other group would be like no, like forget our parents, like they left us, and we like should use these powers for ourselves or something. Splitting of the family, because parents want modified parents versus no parents. So I think that's it, honestly. Until the next video. Until the next video. So that concludes today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I hope y'all enjoyed MJ being a guest in this series. We had so much fun talking and plotting out this old story that we came up with 15 years ago. It's crazy to even think that we were able to remember and now bring this story to life. So don't forget to tune in on Thursday and Saturday for the next part of this series, and until then, bye y'all.